what we can do to deepen our relationship with God. Today, Reverend Joyanne continues guiding us to that place, along that journey, to where we will only see oneness, not separation. She presents more information for us to say yes to the deep calling of the Master within. Please welcome Reverend Joyanne.
And it is a beautiful day. Yeah. Rain or shine, we are divine. Good to know that. All right, before I begin, though, I would like to introduce to all of you three people that you've never met before. And that happens to be three newly installed ministers. And how many of you were at our gathering on Friday? We had a party. Who likes to party? You like to party? How about young man over there? You like to party? I was thinking about it. Okay. We're celebrating our 10 years, and it's just perfect that Reverend Connie is with us today, since she was the founding minister of our center here. And I have to say, it's pretty rare. I mean, this is my third ministry, and I'm trying to remember, I have never met the founding ministers before. So here she is. This is the first experience for me too. So as we go forward today, thank you so much for being here, and your wonderful husband. So nice to meet you as well. And she is living the world ministry that I'm always talking about, right? I'm always talking about this world ministry from here in Kamloops. It's wonderful to have you. I would like to introduce you, though, to these three new people, and I'm going to have Lana stand. Lana, this is Reverend Lana, now installed as one of our ministers. Have Reverend Pat stand. This is Reverend Pat. And last but certainly not least, guess who the third one is?
My friend Ken.
I am so joyously happy to introduce you to my co-minister, Reverend Ken. All right. Thank you so much. And I also have one more acknowledgement, and I'm going to call her up here because she has provided so much of the divine work necessary to create this event that we had on Friday. So I would like to call up Sandy. Would you please come up here? For those of you who are here, she was our MC, which means the Master of Ceremonies for the whole event. But in addition, that was enough, right? But in addition, she did like the decoration, she got the flowers, she ordered and picked up the cake. She created a team. I mean, literally, this is a one-woman show that did everything. And so I am so deeply grateful for her presence in our community. We are blessed to have Sandy. I almost said Reverend Sandy. God made me say that. Okay. So on behalf of all of us, I would like to present you with a gratitude gift with all of our love and all of our appreciation for all that you did. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, I go. And she went door to door. She went up to a church up the hill, knocked on the door. May I have some of your flowers? And so she went all over Kamloops looking for these beautiful lilacs, and she went and picked them all over. So this is a compilation from many, many places. Can you imagine going up to someone's door that you don't know? Hi, my name is Sandy.
They weren't home at the church, so I thank God.
Oh, no one was at the church, so they were perfect. All right, so that's perfect that you mentioned it. Thank you, Karen. All right, so this entire month we are looking at the idea of enrolling, being in, expressing, and receiving our masters in spirituality. So how many of you are ready, if you haven't already received your masters in spirituality? You ready for that? A few of you. Okay, just one of you. All right. And this whole idea is inspired by those in our congregation, and of course our very own ministers, of those who are actually graduating. In my radio show at TRU, many students this month graduated from the university. And so it was really fun to look at that and to look at how we can experience our own program of graduating from our own master's program. So I'll give you a little tiny bit of a summary as a reminder of this program. It comes from this idea, and it is from Dr. Michael Beckwith. Some of you may have heard of him. And he has this idea that there are 4 levels of consciousness. I think there's more. But the 4 levels are, the first one, we're kind of born on this planet. Sometimes we learn things from our family of origin in different places. And we kind of pick these things up along our physical trail. And the first one, kind of where we start at, is we say, why me? So how many of you have had the experience to go, why me? Or I call it whiny. Why me? The second is you realize that you, inside of you, you have the ability to change your life. You realize that. So the second level is by me. And you believe and find out that through consciousness that you can make a difference in your own life. Number 3, the third level is through me, or the mystic. And that is when we realize it is the Father within, the Father, Mother, God within that doeth the work. And the 4th level is the master. And that is when you realize your absolute oneness with the divine. God as me. The divine as me. Very powerful. And I came up with a 5th one, but you have to wait until next week. Before you get the last and final one. And then also the very last Sunday of this month, not next week, we have 5 Sundays. The last Sunday of this month, Reverend Pat will be speaking. So that'll be exciting. I have no idea what her topic will be, but we'll have to wait and see what that is as well. So I love that. So as a quick review also, last week we looked at taking an entrance exam. Some of you were here and may remember that our entrance exam wasn't an SAT, but it was an LRE. And that's when we ask ourselves this question: where are you when a life challenge hits? Do you react from kindergarten? From grade school? From high school? From college? Or as the mystic or as the master? When a life challenge hits, we got to look at that. The second one was the R. What is our relationship to the divine? And do we only pray, once a year? You remember that commercial on TV? I don't know if you've seen it, where they have the woman with one broccoli. She goes, okay, what about if one broccoli could make you healthier? One push-up is all the exercise you needed. I thought that sounded kind of good, actually. That'd be great. But it's our relationship on an everyday basis, the consistent relationship that we have with the divine. Not just when difficult things happen, but that we are in touch with the divinity of our being, with the magnificence of our spiritual nature. And then the E was, where are we in our earth stewardship? So we got to look at that. It's very important to honor and to bless and respect our planet, because it sustains us. So we got to look at that. And Ernest Holmes, part of the reading today, he said we can advance only by going from where we are. So we start right where we are, and then we advance. We gradually increase in wisdom and understanding. So it's important to know where we are. Where are we right now on our journey? And then last week we explored living from oneness by listening to guidance. And there was a 3-step process. We were supposed to listen. I invited you all to listen to your guidance, and then to follow or not follow, and then to observe the results. And I shared the story about Jonah. How many of you remember the story of Jonah? He was given guidance, and he did not follow it. He rowed his boat as fast as he could in the opposite direction, and he got swallowed by a whale. And some of us may have whales in our own life right now. Or maybe sometimes it might feel like we're swallowed by a whale. And so that brings us to today, because earning this degree of our masters in spirituality it's not the degree itself that matters. It is the journey that we are on. It is the journey that we take that matters. And for a lot of people on this spiritual journey, on this human journey, if you ask the general public what they thought a master's level living would be, many would say it would be things. Like you have a house, right? And then you have another house, and maybe a third house, and you have a boat, and then a ski-doo. And then what? A car or two or three, and then you have an RV or two. Vacations, right? And so in the humanness, it's a collection of things. But as you all know, and you may have heard or experienced this yourself, you might get something brand new. And there's nothing wrong with having things. They are blessings. They are our right, our birthright to have it, because the kingdom of heaven is where?
Within.
Right here, right now, within us. And is everywhere present. We're living in the kingdom of our own creation. And so there's nothing wrong with having things. But if you have just things and you don't have that spiritual connection, you don't have that spiritual practice, if you don't take time to smell the roses along the way, or in our case, the lilacs along the way, then sometimes those things, all those things, may be empty. So it's important that we have our degree, meaning that we are living from oneness and that we are living our spiritual magnificence. And that would include the kindness. And I want to share this story. This just happened, and it just brings me to tears. And so that's why I want to share it. So I was visiting my daughter, and I came to a rest stop in the States. She lives in Portland. When you're driving along and you're at a rest stop, it also includes a washroom. Here, I discovered when you go to a rest stop, it's just rest. Something different I didn't know. So then you go to McDonald's, anyway, if you want to use the washroom. So I'm driving along, and I pull up the rest stop, and there's a woman sitting there, and she's holding a sign. You've probably seen this before. All that her sign says is, it says, anything helps. And she was a vet. Anything helps. So I go into the washroom, and then I'm done. I come back, I get into my car, and my guidance kicks in. My guidance says to me, give her the little red apple purse. Okay, so in my car is a little red apple purse that I've been saving. And when I moved like 3 or 4 times. And when I moved here, I collected all this change from the States, and I put it in the little red purse because I knew I'd be going. And I had dollars and pennies. I know you don't have pennies here. So I had about $15 worth of change in this little red purse. And the universe, God, the divine in me, wants me to go up and give it to this woman. So I open my little thing, pull it out, I walk over, and I hand it to her. And I didn't say a word. I just handed it to her and knew her spiritual magnificence. And I went back in my car. And as I was backing up, and I was pulling out, she just began sobbing, and she was going like this. And just sobbing and sobbing. And it touched me in such I can't even tell you, it brought me to tears, because I was, number one, recognizing her spiritual magnificence, and number two, following my guidance. And it was such a gift to me. The gift I gave to her was nothing compared to the gift that I gave to myself by just offering that simple thing. So it's really beautiful. And so when we arrive, it's not that we arrive, when we practice living the master's level, we become kinder. We become more compassionate. It's automatic. We become more available, more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, more prosperous. When we are living from oneness, we don't see separation. We don't see this is some lady sitting there. No, we see someone like us that could be me. And we live from a place of our heart. We open our heart from that place of oneness. And so that is really what master level living is, to be in that oneness. I love that. And we know this because many people on our planet are going through a difficult time right now, if you've noticed. I believe that difficult time is a collective awakening, that we are all awakening. What are we awakening to? Our spiritual magnificence, our oneness, our ability to see the good and the beauty in every single being. And many of you have heard this saying, we're asked to let go and to let God. How many of you have heard that? To surrender. What does that really mean? A lot of us think that, I'll let go and then I'll think about letting God. Anyone ever do that? I'll let go and I'll think about letting God. They see it separately. But that is not how it works. It's the letting go, and the letting go, it is in letting go that we let God. And I have two stories I want to share with you that gives you kind of the micro and the macro story of how that works in our lives. But first I want to share this, that God's first currency, who knows what God's first currency is? It's love, and it's also ideas. And the reason that's important is because we are one with the divine. So listen to this story and see if you can hear the minuscule letting go and letting God. And this story was given to me by one of my colleagues. Some of you may know Reverend Mary Morrissey. So this has actually happened to her, true story. So a number of years ago, her son was in high school and he wanted to go to the prom. So he comes home and he says, Mom, I need $80. And at that time, in her experience, that was a lot of money. She didn't have $80 to go to the prom, to give to her son. And so she said, well, what do you need the money for? And of course, he explained it's to go to the prom. And she said, well, then what you really want is you want to go to the prom. You don't really need $80. What about if you let go and you let God and you surrender, you literally turn this over to God just for a week. Well, when you're 16, he didn't like that idea very much. But he thought he would give it a shot. So about Wednesday of that week, he was driving home from school, because he was 16, just got his license. He was driving home from school. And the divine idea that came in was for him to go to the tux store and try one on. So he went in the store, he tried on this beautiful tux. He's looking pretty sharp. And then he got, they measured you and everything was perfect. And so as he was getting ready to go, they said, well, we need a half deposit. We need 50% deposit. And he said, well, I don't have it, but please, can I have it anyway? Can I reserve it, right? And the guy says, you know what? The manager says, you know what? The owner was just in, and he said, he asked me to find someone in high school that would wear a tux every Wednesday for the next several weeks, and then he could have any tux he wanted free. Well, this young man was delighted because he was kind of a ham and he liked to look really sharp. So every Wednesday for the next few weeks, he wore a tux to school and walked around. Can you imagine being in high school and wearing a tux? But he loved it. He walked around, he was kind of strutting, looking great and fabulous. And then, of course, he got any tux he wanted. He went to the prom. And as an aside, as a bonus, he was voted the best dressed kid in school. So that's an example of letting go. He let go of, I have to have $80, and he just opened up to allow himself to receive. So that's the kind of the micro example. And so this concept of letting go and letting God works in any area of our lives. Letting go and allowing God to do His work through us. So the second one is really an amazing story. This is the giant one, and it's about a hurricane. I just wanted to mention that there was a hurricane named after Anna recently. Did you all see that? It was in the U.S. I laughed so much. It could have been Rael. I have never seen a hurricane named after Rael. That would be a very tall one. What was that?
A musically inclined.
A musically inclined, yes. So this one was written by a wonderful author. Where did you go? Here you are. Okay. So there's a man named Bob Trask. And Bob Trask wrote a book called God's Phone Number. And he said, wouldn't it be great if every one of us had God's phone number? And you could get out your cell phone and it would say 250-GOD, and then it would have the rest of your number. Right? Right? And so then you dialed it and God would say, oh, it's Joyanne again? Hi, baby doll. That's what my dog says to me. Hi, baby. Hi, baby doll. Hey, you gotta have fun somewhere. So we're gonna be ready. So here, he wrote this book, Conversations Conversations with God. You all know that I personally know Neil Donald Walsh. And in that book, he was so inspired. Many things inspired him to write all of his books, his 30 books that he wrote. But he said this particular one was so inspiring to him that you and I could have a direct line to the divine, to God. So he tells a story. This person that wrote the book actually was a seaman. He was a sailor, and he was making a journey in the South Seas. And he had 4 crewmen with him. And he had 22 people on board that he was taking across the ocean. And all of a sudden, a huge hurricane came up. They were already out in the middle of the ocean. A huge hurricane came up with 50-foot waves. Now, I'm about 5'6", 5 foot tall. Can you imagine what would it be like to look up and see a 50-foot wave? And so all these waves are coming. And he had in his brain, in his mind, he had come up with 5 different scenarios that he would start with each one to handle the situation. He had never been in a hurricane, right? So all of a sudden, the hurricane is whipping them around. It wasn't named Anna, but it was a supercharged, extra large hurricane. And he's whipping him around. Big waves are coming. So he tries number 1. It didn't work. He goes, oh my God, goodness. So he tries number 2. Didn't work. Tries number 3. Didn't work. Tries number 4. Didn't work. Tries number 5. He's really scared now. All of a sudden, it occurs to him he might want to let go and let God. He might want to ask. He said it took a hurricane of this huge magnitude to get him to let go of his ideas, all these scenarios he came up with which didn't work, and to ask for guidance. And all of a sudden, all these ideas started coming to him. All these different ideas. This is what he said. He said, I didn't know before that night that being helpless does not mean being powerless. I just couldn't beat the hurricane. I was helpless in the face of the hurricane. As the dictionary says, without protection or help, incompetent and ineffective, like an alcoholic hitting bottom, I finally got it. Unless help came from somewhere bigger than me, we were doomed. It took a full hurricane to bring me to this realization. I don't think most people need a hurricane. I don't. Baseball bat. Wow. You know what to get you for Christmas. 2 baseball bats. Oh. So, and he goes on to say they can probably sidestep their egos. Who knows what an ego is? An ego simply means, it's an acronym for ego, edging God out. That's all it means. And an ego is part, if God is everything, then that's part of the God as well. So it's not to beat it down and kill it. Who wants to beat their ego down and kill it? No. Just one of you. Okay. So anyway, here he is on this hurricane. And he said, most people can sidestep their egos with less encouragement. He said, I had always thought and allowed myself to feel helpless was being dependent. But I was dependent all along. I was ego-dependent. And I couldn't get help from God because I was unwilling to admit I needed help. The first thing we must do then, if we want to get divine assistance, is to completely accept our place in the order of the universe. And that is to simply recognize that, if you've tried everything, right? You've tried all the solutions to a life challenge, you may want to possibly consider asking for that which created the universe upon universe upon universe, the cosmos, the cosmic mind of which you are one, to have assistance. And he went on to say, am I willing to do whatever it takes to have the things I want, even if it means sidestepping myself, my ego? He said, I asked myself that question, and then I said yes. He said, I couldn't change the facts. I couldn't change the hurricane. No amount of fighting the hurricane is going to change it. I can't change the fact that I'm in a hurricane. Everything isn't working, that I am trying. My decision to leave it to God came from a number of experiences that were just happening. I decided to do that. And he goes on to share that when he was a young boy, he had accidentally shot and killed his brother. And that had caused him, at that point in his life, to realize at a very deep level that he had to let go of all of that guilt, to let God and to let go of that guilt. And then as he was in this hurricane, suddenly ideas began to, as soon as he said, I let go and I let God, as soon as he went to the next greatest, grandest version of himself, opening up his mind, his life, because he was afraid he was going to die, and all the other passengers too. As soon as he did that, ideas began to show up, and he tried the ideas he was given. He said, not only were the 4 crewmen and I saved, but all 22 of our passengers were saved as well, as the boat itself was saved. There was no physical way that we could have had this happen, considering the huge hurricane we were in. But there is every way we could have it happen, considering the God we were in. Dr. Holmes in Science of Mind said, it's not easy to release our troubles. Who wants to keep their troubles? It's not easy to release our troubles. We are prone to linger with them, but God is perfect life. And when we enter this divine light, we are healed. So the Master's level of living, what we have and what we do and what we are, is all well and good. But knowing who we are is what matters. Knowing our oneness with Source, with the source of all life, is what counts. And that's where letting go and letting God comes in. Because if we know our oneness, we can absolutely let go. And so I realize that saying it is one thing, and yet it's quite another to practice this, especially in the face of a hurricane. But it took that to get this gentleman to open up and allow that to be. I believe that sometimes it's like a tightrope balance between being absolutely clear about our God-given dreams, hopes, and desires, but releasing our attachment to how it comes. The how is up to the divine. The how is up to God. So remember the master teacher Jesus. He said, come to me all who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Which means come into the way I am offering you. Come into the path I have laid out before you. I have found a way where the yoke is easy and the burden is light. Let it go and recognize the source of all life that lives as you. Let go of the worry. How many of you like to worry? Nobody. One of you. My mother worried about everything. I had to really work on letting go of that one. So we let go of worry. The yoke is easy, the burden is light. Let it go. Recognize the source of life that lives as you. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And so let us anchor that whole idea in consciousness right inside of us, as I ask Rael to please play the wings. And knowing that this master level of spirituality is really living from the place of absolute oneness, knowing who we are, and letting go of fear, of anxiety, of worry, and fully living from that place of absolute oneness. And so I just take a moment on this beautiful cloudy day, on this beautiful long holiday weekend, to recognize that there is only one infinite and loving presence, one power. And this power created the entire universe upon universe upon universe upon universe, forever expanding. That's a whole lot of universe. It's huge. In fact, the scientists tell us it's moving at the speed of light. We can't even track the expansion of the universe. And that same power that created the entire universe, moving faster than the speed of light, that same power is right here, right now, inside of us. For I am knowing my oneness with the divine. I am made out of God's stuff here on this planet at the best possible time to be. Because it is the time when we are gathered for the great awakening of humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And so knowing my oneness, I speak my word on behalf of myself and everyone within the sound of my voice. That there is a deeper awareness, a deeper awakening inside of me. That every day and in every way I awaken to more and ever more of my spiritual awareness. I realize that it's not so much about a degree or about a result, but it is all about the journey. That I fully partake, I fully enroll, I fully sign up for, I fully embody this magnificent spiritual journey that I am on. And it is an eternal journey. As Abraham Hicks says, you never get it done, you cannot get it wrong. It is a forever and ever unfolding, ever evolving, ever expanding journey, just like the universe expanding. And so with that knowing, I so easily now just let go. I let go of anger. I let go of worry. I let go of anxiety. And I just fully allow the truth of my being, the magnificence of who I am, to express as me. And I am so grateful for this teaching. I am so grateful for this center. I am so grateful for all of our centers. I am so grateful for all spiritual paths, all journeys to the one God, to the one power, the one presence, the one life. And so in gratitude, knowing that this entire treatment has already been acted upon, is already now visible, as I release it into this universal law of mind that always says yes. And just simply letting go and letting God and anchoring this into my very heart and soul. Let us join together in affirming this by saying, and so it is.